So quick question for you guys. Do you like government ran X-Force or just normal mutants running the team X-Force? Please let me know in the comments. My name is Thorne, this is SEM Comics. We are continuing our coverage of From the Ashes, and we are starting our coverage of X-Force with number 1. So a story starts off with the old X-Men. Like you can tell by the uniforms, these are old school X-Men, and they're fighting the Brood. I mean, obviously this is a simulation because they haven't looked like this in a long time. You know what? I got another question. So obviously this is the Chris Claremont era. Let me know, are you an old fogey like myself? You remember reading these comic books back in the day, or are you such a fan that you went back and you read the Chris Claremont era? And also too, let me know when the storytelling was best. Was it during the Chris Claremont era? Was it the 90s? Was it the 2000s? Was it the 2010s? Is it right now? Let me know. When was the storytelling the best when it comes to the X-Men? So when we turn the page, we see how it's a simulation because you got Forge, and he's just sitting on the couch, eating some chips, watching the simulation, and his AI/robot is like, "Hey Forge, what you asked for is ready." And he's like, "Why are you bothering me? Like, what I asked for takes like 20 something hours to do. Like it can't be done yet." And the robot's like, "You've been watching this simulation for 36 hours. It's ready." So then Forge is like, "Oh, well damn. Stop simulation." So then the robot goes, "The McCoy Project Phase 1 is currently primed." And he's like, "I thought I told you to change the name." The robot goes, "You did not." So as you can see, Forge is just a hot mess. So the robot goes, "The project is titled after Dr. Henry McCoy, aka Beast, whose work inspired this course of inquiry." So then she plays a hologram of old school 1960 Stan Lee and Jack Kirby was making these comics beast, when he just had big hands and big feet. And I guess he didn't like that because in his speech, he pretty much says in a nutshell that he was looking a way to use science to try to change his mutation, but he wound up making it worse and turned himself into the beast we know today. So Forge jokes around and goes, "Yeah, he was trying to cure himself of his mutant gene and he wanted to give himself a power-up." So now, for those of you guys that don't know Forge's mutant ability is pretty much he can make anything. Like, he doesn't, how does Rob always put it? He's like Tony Stark in a way to where he can invent amazing things, but he doesn't understand the science behind it. Like, his mutant power just thinks of something and his mutant power just takes over and he just makes it and it works. Like, Tony Stark knows what he's creating. Forge just kind of says, "I want a ray gun," and his mutant power just goes and he creates a ray gun. He don't know how he did it, but he just does it. So he created something and it has like 3 sides, like a triangle. He sits in the middle. Then all of a sudden he does a countdown and it starts to show him something. I still don't really know what the hell he's looking at, but it's something, and there's some kind of beast up above, so it's something scary. So next page he starts yelling, the fractures. And then he's all like heavy breathing. He's like, "It worked. It fucking worked. Take that, McCoy." I don't know what that's supposed to mean. I mean, besides a shot at Beast. So then he goes analog first, then Tessa. Of course, Tessa. So he means Sage. So now we cut to Switzerland and we see Sage is in a mental facility and she's not doing well, just like Forge wasn't doing well. And she's like reciting poetry, then she's rambling numbers, and then she's like singing a song. Sage's mutant power is she's pretty much a supercomputer. Like when the Krakoan era first started, she was the one like running the gates, making sure everybody's got scanned through and IDing everybody. Like, she is a supercomputer. Whatever she brings in, she retains, and then she remembers and she can spit it out again. So yeah, that's pretty much Sage's power. And if I left anything out or if I explained it wrong, please feel free in the comments to explain Sage's powers. So Forge is pretending to be a doctor and says that he can help Route because the Switzerland doctors hasn't been able to do anything. He busts out some kind of ball, she grabs it, and all of a sudden she's fine because 10 days later they're in a Blackbird and they're on a mission. they're in Japan. Sage is like, we're not talking to the Japanese authorities because, and then Forge is like, besides the obvious reasons. And the Sage is like, well, half the world's government don't trust us. The other half thinks we're terrorists. This is pretty much the aftermath of the end of the Krakoan era. But you got to admit, when you go back to the beginning, like the mutants, they were swinging their big all over the world and pretty much saying what you're going to do about it. Well, now they need some Viagra. So then she goes, my boots are loose. And then Cable's like, they're adjustable. It's at the heel. And she goes, wow, you actually think of everything. And Forge is like, my powers don't work like that. And she is like, oh, that's right. I was thinking about my own. As they jump out the Blackbird. So as they're falling, their suits go to stealth mode so they can't get picked up by radar. And they have no parachutes. Like, neither one of them can fly. But as they get closer to the ground, their boots slow them down and they land safely. So as they're on the ground and they're gathering intel, all of a sudden they are joined by BETSY BRADDOCK. Yes, BETSY BRADDOCK, not Psylocke because they've been separated, but just regular BETSY BRADDOCK, who is now Captain Britain, and her boo thing, Rachel Summers. So then we cut to 4 hours ago and we go to Essex, England, which seems like if you're like a comic book character in Marvel and you're from England, you're from Essex for some damn reason, because so is Mr. Sinister. So Forge and Sage is talking to Betsy and to Rachel, and they're like, you need to really join us. And Betsy's like, I don't know, last time we did this, it didn't work out so well. And Forge is like, look, this really mean the end of the world. We need your help. And then she's like, fine. Rachel got all excited. It's like, yes, X-Force assembled. And then Betsy's like, no Deadpool this time. So they're flying and Rachel's like, I really don't like using these comms. And then Betsy's like, we can't always rely on telepathy. So then she's like, all right, well, what about telekinesis? As you can see Forge and Sage flying in the background because of Rachel. So then Rachel's like, what's the magic 8-ball say? And Forge is like, it doesn't work that way. They're talking about the ball that he handed to Sage. And then Betsy's like, all we know is that thing says jump and you say how high. So they're in a city and it looks abandoned. And then Forge is like, set us down, Rachel. So Forge is like, we need to take defensive positions. And we see something's looking at them using like heat signatures. So Stage starts to scan the area because, like I said, she's a supercomputer. And she pretty much is like some kind of randomized battle. Like the defense forces got caught off guard. She goes, Betsy, please don't touch the biomass until we're able to analyze it. And she's like, something killed the main grid of energy. Like there's no power. Also, there's no bodies. Why? No animals, no insects. And then all of a sudden Rachel goes, look out. This girl shoots all this energy at Sage and Forge. She flies out and she's headed right to Betsy, who has a sword and shield because she is so English. Then all of a sudden Rachel goes, that's enough. She stops her using telekinesis. And then Forge is like, hold on, time out. That's Surge. Now, Surge was around, I believe, during the second iteration of the New Mutants. Don't quote me on that because that's when I kind of started reading comics. But I think that's when she came about. She could pretty much absorb electricity. She could generate electricity. And because she could do all that, she's like super fast. So she calms down because she finally recognizes Force. And then she's like, oh no, it's all you guys. And then obviously they embrace and hug and start to catch up. What she was doing is she was protecting these people that were in this building. They start to come out, but then all of a sudden that biomass that was pretty much everywhere starts to come alive and then attacks one of the people that just came out of the building. So all of a sudden they look around and they're surrounded by all this biomass. All of a sudden Forrest goes, tank, intervention, bring Wade. And BETSY BRADDOCK said, what did he say? And all of a sudden Tank drops from the sky, which Tank, I don't know if he's a new character. He's been around, he hasn't been around it much. But he's got Deadpool with him, and Deadpool's like, Deadpool on deck. Oh yeah, you guessed it. This is the unofficial movie tie-in. There you go, that's why I made a thumbnail. So he goes, hey Betsy, hey Rachel, long time. You know what would be awesome right now? A truffle. I hear that polyamory is the new, and he doesn't even get to finish the statement before he is engulfed. I'm not gonna lie, I had to look up what polyamory means, and it means exactly what you think it means. Pretty much multiple sex partners. Goes along with the whole trouble statement. I mean, this is why Betsy didn't want Deadpool on the team. There you go. So as Deadpool is struggling, we do a flashback to a couple days ago in Madripoor, which kind of reminds me. Let me know in the comments if you guys want me to start covering that Madripoor Nights. Now, we're not going to cover it right away. Like, we need to end some things before we add some things. But I know that story is a pretty cool story. At least I thought it was a pretty cool story. I would love to cover it, but let me know in the comments if you do want me to move forward with that after we end some things. So then Deadpool's like, you can't have X-Force without the pool. Apex murderer. Okay, Randy Orton. And Forge is like, not really on the team. We're kind of just hiring you because you are incapable of keeping a secret unless there's money involved. So then Deadpool's like, but hey, don't you remember me and you, Sage, in Barbados? I didn't say a word. And Sage is like, lie, never happened. Just talk to Forge. So Forge is like, 3 million Kuwaiti dinars will be waiting for you in a crypto vault, just waiting for your access key, which is your biosignature. Strictly work for hire. So Deadpool's like, so just this one go around, huh? You know what? Sounds tasty. I'm in. And then we see that blue biomass creature that was pretty much eating them all of a sudden starts to die, and Deadpool is pretty much down there naked. I'm thinking his cancer has something to do with the creature just all of a sudden dying. So Deadpool's like, you goo boys took your best shot and came up with So then he's like, it's Deadpoolian time, mother. So far, the only thing that's worked on this creature is Deadpool's cancer, because they try everything else. Deadpool's stabbing, talk about get some. Everybody's trying to use their powers and everything is not working. Finally, Rachel goes to Betsy and is like, hey, you need to give me a boost. And Betsy's like, do we really need to do this now? And Rachel's like, Betsy. So then Betsy's like, okay, fine, boost. And I guess that boosts up her telekinesis. And then Rachel goes, all right, everybody, time out, as the blue thing goes flying everywhere. So Sage starts to do her supercomputer thing, and she's like, there's no really rhyme or reason to this creature's attack patterns. They're just kind of migrating east. So Deadpool's like, what, like lemons? Like, are you high? These things were on us like a STD. So then Sage tells Rachel to use her telepathy to pretty much get all the people to safety by running. And then all of a sudden, on the next page, we see this big, huge Godzilla-sized biomass just come out of nowhere. And Deadpool's like, holy, and he says a bunch of cuss words, like, just throw them all in there. He said them all. So all of a sudden, Betsy just falls over. Rachel comes over, picks her up. This pisses her off to no end. Then she starts to use that Phoenix power of hers and blows a massive hole into this biomass, which, I don't know where, just reforms again. So that didn't work. So Tank can talk and he goes, that's not good. And then Sage is still doing her little analysis and comes to find out that this was made by a Japanese company that is also a subsidiary of Ethics Holding, which is Mr. Sinister. So then finally, Forge looks at the ball, tells Tank to grab Deadpool, and then he throws him into the creature's mouth. So then Deadpool's like, hey, Forge, what the hell's going on? What are you doing? And then Forge is like, take a bow, Wade. Your cancer is the poison pill. So then Deadpool's like, okay, but he's like taking bits out of me and it hurts. Forge is like, I'm sorry, but you know, unfortunately, we came here to fix a fracture. This is the fracture. Your cancer is pretty much the fix. So then Deadpool's like, Forge, this thing is eating me. And then Forge is like, yeah, it should only last about 3 days. Then you get to collect your money. You'll be fine. So then Forge is like, all right, Surge, you're a bust now. So she's like, where are we going? And Forge goes, Wakanda, the Force of Torment. So the next issue is going to have Black Panther. Oh, that's right. The UR code page. Damn it. Those things are getting on my nerves. Pretty much in a nutshell, this page shows that the analogs, whatever that thing he has, that ball is, that's just pretty much running X-Force. So I don't know if it's government ran, but it's ran by somebody. And that's who Forge is pretty much taking orders from. And they want Surge.